The FBI doesn't spy to begin with. The FBI investigates.
You said it's not spying. Why do you think Attorney General Barr used the word spying, which is obviously a word that the president has used as well?
I can't explain it. I mean, the only explanation I can think of is he used it because the president uses it.
There is the former FBI Director James Comey. Said a lot last night in that interview, dismissing allegations the FBI spied on the Trump team. The interview coming as the IG is currently investigating what led to the entire Russia matter. Jim Jordan, ranking member of the House Oversight Committee, Republican from Ohio. Sir, good morning to you. Based on what you have heard from him last night, what do you think of what James Comey said there?
Well, we know spying took place. We know two instances. One, they went and got a warrant from the FISA court. The now famous dossier was the basis for that warrant to go spy on the other party's campaign. The dossier was an opposition research document from the Clinton campaign. And they didn't tell the court important facts about the dossier, like who paid for it, the Clinton campaign. Christopher Steele, the guy who wrote it, was desperate to stop Trump, had communicated that to the Justice Department. So we know they did it that way. And then just last week, a week ago, New York Times has the report where they planted someone posing as someone else to go after George Papadopoulos, to set him up. So if that's not spying, I don't know what is.
Okay.
And to get in this fight over a word makes no sense.
I'm just looking at the transcript. I don't know if he was asked about whether or not he knew the DNC was paying for the dossier. I do know that Anderson Cooper said, how much work did the FBI do to verify the dossier? To which Comey said, there were a lot of spokes off of that. We didn't know what was true and false, but we were trying to figure out what to make of it. So then, what do you make of that?
Andy McCabe told us when we deposed him that but for the dossier, they wouldn't have got the warrant. So the idea that they used it, I mean, Jim Comey's own words, salacious and unverified. Not my words, not Republican words. The director of the FBI, who's been fired, said it was salacious and unverified when they took it to a court, a secret court, to get a warrant to spy on Carter Page, who was associated with the Trump campaign.
All right, here's more. Another question. You think the IG will find nothing inappropriate, Comey? I don't think so, at least not that I know of. What do you know of based on the Inspector General's investigation?
What I know is the last time the Inspector General did a report, he came back and said Andy McCabe, Deputy Director of the FBI, lied 3 times under oath. So I know that. We'll see what Michael Horowitz brings to us in the next 4 or 6 weeks. I think we'll have that report. We'll see what it says. All I know is he's done good work in the past, and I expect good work in the future.
Yeah. Does your committee have the power to bring back James Comey? Is there a sense that Democrats want to do that? Could that happen?
They haven't talked about that. They've been so focused instead on trying to go after Bill Barr because they know Bill Barr is going to get to the bottom of all this. Remember what Bill Barr said. I said this in Wednesday's hearing on the contempt resolution. Remember what he said when he testified in front of the Senate 3.5 weeks ago. He said spying took place. He said it twice. He said there is a basis for his concern about the spying that happened. And then third, and maybe most importantly, or I guess maybe most frightening, he used 2 terms that scare me and should scare every American. He said unauthorized surveillance, and he talked about political surveillance. He's going to get to the bottom of that. I think Democrats are nervous about that, and so what do? They attack Bill Barr. They're going to hold him in contempt for following the law, for goodness sake. That's what they're focused on. Whether they bring in Comey or Mueller or who, we'll have to see.
Speaking of Mueller, does he appear next week or not? There was a rumor.
I don't think it's set.
Okay.
I mean, they talked about that next Wednesday, I think the 15th, but I don't think anything's set.
That was our understanding as of yesterday, that it was not clear. Senator Blumenthal now. Richard Burr is a Republican senator from North Carolina. He wants Don Jr. to come back and testify. There's a lot of reaction. First, listen to Senator Blumenthal, a Democrat, then the president followed up at the White House after that.
If he fails to answer, he ought to be put in jail. If he fails to comply with a lawful subpoena, he has no privilege. Prison is the only answer.
Frankly, for my son, after being exonerated, to now get a subpoena to go again and speak again after close to 20 hours of telling everybody that would listen about a nothing meeting, yeah, I'm pretty surprised.
What do you think Senator Burr is going for at this point, sir?
I don't know, but I do think this is ridiculous. Mr. Trump come and testified, Don Jr. come and testified for 25 hours. And now, I mean, think about it. They're bringing him back based on the testimony of Michael Cohen, who went to prison on Monday for what? Lying to Congress. And when we had him back just 2 months ago in front of our committee, he lied 7 times. So bring Donald Trump back in to testify again based on the testimony of a guy who's in prison for lying to Congress? I just don't see this. And last week, frankly, we had a chance. We sent a resolution to the floor last week. Mark Green put the resolution forward that said send the transcript of Mr. Cohen's testimony to the Department of Justice. And guess what? The Democrats voted it down. But now they're going to bring Don Jr. back in after he's already testified for 25 hours based on that guy's word.
Can he refuse that? Senator Blumenthal just said he has no privilege. Prison is the only answer. Jail time?
No, I think I would encourage him not to come. I mean, look, you give 25 hours to Congress, and what else is there to ask? And you're bringing me back because something Michael Cohen said on his way to prison? Come on, I think American people see through this.
Senator Burr so far is holding his ground. He had very little comment on this yesterday. Jim Jordan, thank you for coming back today.
You bet.
A lot
Thanks,
to cover.
Bill.
Thank you, sir, for being here.